You're listening to the Live from the Caribbean podcast, the show that brings the stories of island people making a global impact, with your host, Pauline Joseph.
Thank you so much for joining us on the next episode of Live from the Caribbean. As usual, Pauline Joseph here to introduce you to our next guest. How do I introduce this guest? I think the best way to do it is if you've ever been to a LinkedIn local event, I usually have a presentation on personal branding. And there's usually, I have to have a Bajan element for obvious reasons, half Bajan and all. And I always reference the entertainment industry because I have a bit of a history there. And one of the rare gems of personal branding is our next guest here, and the ability to actually convey Caribbean culture to a mass audience is something that this particular individual has done very well. And I will never forget, Private Ryan once told me, he's like, I keep hearing about this DJ and everybody telling me, to be watchful of him. But I think it's fair to say that he's created his own niche. And with that said, I would like you to introduce yourself, DJ Puffy.
Well, hey, I'm DJ Puffy. How you guys doing? We reached.
Yes, we have.
We
and
reached.
I want you to tell people who you are, just in case they're not sure who you are.
Well, my name is DJ Puffy. I guess if you look up anything, it would tell you that I'm the Red Bull 3-star world champion in 2016. I won the competition in 2016. If you don't know what that competition is, it's basically the Olympics of DJing, simply put. And yeah, I'm kind of weird. I enjoy branding and social media and interacting with people. And I eat ice cream sandwiches at 4 a.m. But that's me a little bit.
Okay, all right. That's a little summarized version so people to get warm up to the continuity of this conversation. So how did you get into becoming a DJ?
I kind of just fell into it. Really, it was a hobby at first, and I was like doing like these like small house parties and stuff with my friends at high school, and then something happened where I was working with a youth band. You would be knowledgeable of this, I guess, but you know a youth explosion, right? So I was working a youth explosion, a youth crop over band here in Barbados when I was like 16, 17, and they asked me to kind of put together this fete. So I put together the fete, but we couldn't afford to pay all the DJs. So I was like, I do this thing as a hobby anyway, so I would just play music until the real DJs get there. Long story short, while I was warming up for the other DJs at this fete that we were throwing, this guy was there and he heard me play and he was like, how long have you been DJing? And I was like, I'm not a real DJ, really. Like, I just do it for fun. He was like, well, you sound good. What do you think about doing the Saturday nights here at the club that we rented? And I guess the Saturday night went pretty well because he asked me to do it all the time. And then Saturdays turned into Tuesdays and Saturdays, and Tuesdays and Saturdays turned into Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And then I ended up being a real DJ, and I have a whole career out of it now. So it kind of fell into my lap, Really interesting thing. And
wow.
Like, I was never really the type of person to say no to opportunities, So I would kind of just say yes and figure it out along the way.
Okay, and I think it's fair to say the entertainment industry is somewhat saturated with many folks being DJs or aspiring to be in DJs. What would you think, or what would you suggest, or what in your experience that you brought different to the table that wasn't there before?
What would I suggest that I brought differently to the table that wasn't there before? Firstly, I would say my taste and my interest in music. Because back then, like, a lot of young DJs weren't playing pop or hip hop music at all. Like, it was just mostly dancehall, soca, and that's what they were pumping, But a lot of people in my demographic and my age group and all my friends, we were heavy into the Kanye's and the Jay-Z's, and Lil Wayne was popping at the time, and a lot of people weren't playing those in parties or at house parties or, at the school parties. So I was the guy that was really known for playing all those left field songs at the time, all the hip hop, the pop music, all the Black Eyed Peas and the electronic stuff like the David Guettas and all that. That was big back in the day. And obviously the term back in the day is relative, because I know some people can say, yo, this you talking about back in the day, talking about David Guetta and Stoops. But it's all right. That was my day. But yeah, I think the difference in music, how I spoke, I think like just the presentation, the branding, the logos, how I would present my mixtapes, just how active we were on socials too, because socials, that was kind of like the uprise of the Facebook, and I don't think Instagram was even there yet. It was MySpace, it was High Five, and it was Facebook, and I think SoundCloud had like newly launched too. So I think we kind of caught the wave on the up and was able to really, push the Facebook thing. We were doing all the uploads and fancy artworks and all of that stuff, and I think people really liked it, and that's how I was able to separate myself here in Barbados at first.
So you were the original Major Lazer.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say the
Mishmash.
original, but the
Well-
Bajan one.
Well, the mishmash of popular music and that Caribbean vibe element.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So you said that some folks might say back in the day, this young boy. How long have you been doing what you've been doing?
Let me see. How old am I now, boy? I think there's like 11 years now. Yeah, 11 years, something like that.
Wow, you're old.
Don't tell me that, man.
I just gonna share a secret with you. None of us are getting any younger. It's just
Wow.
we're all suffering from it. So it's just something you should know,
Thank you very much. Appreciate that piece of my voice there, man.
I here to support my people.
Yeah.
So that is 11 years of, I would say, as Drake would say, it started from the bottom. What was it like when you just started? Because I mean, you started relatively young, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I could only imagine how difficult it was for you to be taken seriously.
100%.
What was that like? What was the process like in terms of, moving forward and pushing? What was, maybe tell us a story that sticks out, and what was your drive to continue?
The process was a bit difficult, especially being so young and having to, kind of stand up for yourself at such a young age. I mean, I was fortunate enough that we put systems in place to kind of defer or kind of soften or just not make me or allow me to have to deal with things like that directly, because I did have a manager and I did have somebody to kind of play devil's advocate and take all the lashes for me. But that in itself is definitely something that helped me maneuver through the industry initially. Having management is very important. I said this on multiple interviews. Having a team or having that wall that basically like, let me not call it a wall, but let me call it a filter, because it filters all the things that you don't really want to be in, that you can find yourself tangled in if you don't have somebody to kind of go through that initial noise. Because for the time you have a buzz, especially as a young person, everybody's going to want to come and fly at you with all these ideas and all these things. And it's important that, you have everything put in place. You get paid. You get paid on time. You get paid what you're valued or what you're worth. And I think that was having that system in place really helped me to earn that respect. I would say me carrying myself the way that I did, that definitely had some flat. I definitely got some flat for that because people were like, "Yo, who's this young boy that feel that he gonna have a contract? Who's this young boy that feel that, that you gotta have proper pictures posted on a flyer if you're gonna have him there, you know? Why do you have to proof the flyer before it goes out? Like, stuff like that." And it was just like, yo, like this is what's being done internationally. This is where I feel like I want to take my brand, you know. So I must aspire, or I must try to implement these things as early as possible so that when the opportunity does come for me to be in that space, I'm ready for it. So it was just something where we just had to put our feet down and stand firm by it. And I think after a while, people were just like, well, this guy's not budging. So if we want him and he is who he said he is, and the numbers don't lie, then, I guess we have to do what he's requesting. So those were definitely two main things that I would say helped me to hold my ground in the early stages.
So it's safe to say that your team and your support team made Be Professionally and family-wise help you hold the ground to where you are today?
Absolutely. And I'm sure you could testify to that, Pauline. Like dealing with me in the earlys definitely was kind of difficult in terms of negotiation and stuff, but
Yeah. I didn't really want to go into my history with you, so I wanted to just like this have be your space. But based on my experience with the entertainment industry, and it's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even in the creative space, because this idea of someone's worth, because we don't treat our own value that they're worth. We have to wait till we go outside to somebody have a stamp of approval and come back to like, oh, okay, now you're actually valuable.
Yeah.
And that contract situation, to me, it's so interesting because I work with so many people in the creative industry, and yes, I have to give them a contract. They don't actually have one.
Yeah, they don't have one.
And I think it shows a sign of professionalism when you present your own document, because those things are important. This is not a friend thing. This is business.
Indeed.
So that the fact that is there, and maybe who knows, in the next couple of years when the gray hair starts to show, you'll give some workshops, and teach
Well, we definitely got the workshops. Those things were in the works from the beginning of this year. I even spoke with the Prime Minister here in Barbados when I got back from Russia. And she was like, yeah, she would even come, and she's heavily on board with that idea. It's just obviously with the effects of COVID stepping in and travel being stunted, we can't do things the way we want to. But that's definitely something that we had in the works, and the blueprint and the system is definitely there. It's just to be able to add the fuel and turn the key and start everything up again.
Well, no, there's digital. You can create a whole workshop environment online.
Absolutely.
And it's a Caribbean issue too. I mean, it's this idea of, because we're small, we tend to have this, well, I know you scenario, and I don't play. You could have my same last name, you're still getting a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's also, to me, a little disconnect with the legal folks who tend to have that information and don't want to share it.
Yeah.
It's like a ridiculous amount of cost that small business person doesn't necessarily have the funds for. So
yes,
it's kind of a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
So I get you. So you spoke about Russia earlier, and I want to go back to some of the amazing opportunities you've had the chance to actually be able to experience. And you mentioned Red Bull, and I'm sure you've traveled the world. So can you share top 3 events or stuff that you've done that you're able to say, you know what, I'm basically holding this pillar of Caribbean culture? Because I mean, when it come outside the Caribbean, you're no longer Bajan, you're no longer Trini, you're no longer Jamaican, you're Caribbean.
You're Caribbean. Yeah, for sure.
So share the top 3 experiences.
This is always a hard one to answer, man. But top 3 experiences, I would definitely say I look forward every year to touring Asia. Like, it's definitely a thing for me. Like I'd love to be out there. I love to experience all the cultures out there, and this like normally I do a tour every September of a couple countries, couple cities in Asia, and that in itself is beautiful for me. So going to Tokyo, being able to experience the commercial club culture in Japan, and then go to be able to do a dance hall party in Japan as well the next night, like that in itself is amazing. Toronto is always a serious vibe. I have like one of the best fan bases there. So anytime I play in Toronto is a madness. And I actually I throw my birthday party every year in Toronto. Fun fact. So yeah, that's how much I love the city. I do love playing in Jamaica too, man. There's just something about the energy that Jamaica brings that I really, really enjoy. Playing in Russia this year was really special. I know I got 4 right now, but playing in Russia this year was really, really special because it was very interesting that like while I was doing my interviews there, like a lot of the people interviewing me, like they were just saying, like, yo, like we want to hear that Caribbean stuff tonight. When you go on stage or tomorrow when you go on stage, we're so excited to hear the vibes that you bring because we've seen it on YouTube and we see how people react and we definitely want to experience that firsthand. So that for me, I had to like rethink my whole set, you know, because I didn't plan to play a lot of like Caribbean influenced stuff. My set was more left field and it was more focused on like Bali and Brazilian funk and stuff like that at the time because that's what I was into. But yeah, man, I had to come full circle and be like, all right, cool, this is what the people want, so let's give them what they want. And that was a really good experience. So yeah, boom, 4, 3 with a bonus.
Hey, it's Pauline here to let you know about Regis Caribbean. They've been an amazing partner for the LinkedIn local Caribbean community. Not only have they given their space for just about nothing, nothing, but they have a really good environment to allow small business owners like me to use their space because sometimes our walls are closing in. So go check out their prices online. Maybe you need an office space, maybe you need an address. They have locations in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and most recently Guyana. So go check them out. Tell them Pauline sent you.
So I can't help it. The marketer in me comes in. And I have to ask, how do you decide the music that you're going to play? You just made a comment that, you know, it was something that you liked at the time, but based on the feedback in Russia, you had to change it.
Yeah.
So how was that decided? You know, you're going to Asia, you're going to Jamaica. How do you decide what music to play?
First of all, it's important to know the type of zone that you're getting into or the type of environment that you're getting into. So, well, this is why we ask for certain things beforehand. Like, we want to know the type of party. We want to know what the flyer looks like. We want to know if there's any video or any coverage before so that we could kind of do our research and I could kind of be aware of, you know, the type of pond that I'm getting into before I go with a certain mindset, you know. I can't be playing or I can't be booked for a spot in New York, think that is one of those bottle service places and decide, okay, cool, I'm going to play a bunch of hip hop and trap tonight. And then when I get there, you know, is a dance hall party in Brooklyn, you know, so it's very important that, you know, research is done beforehand. So that, you know, you could kind of chart your path if you need to do your research beforehand. Look at, you know, if there are any local songs from that area that might be popping that you could play that would surprise the audience, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I think research beforehand definitely helps with that type of vibe.
What about your mixes? Because, I mean, let's be honest, that's clearly what you're good at. And you have a certain amount of downloads. Like folks who are listening on this right now, maybe listening on Google Podcast or iTunes. So they would have a connection to your name already. So when you see those downloads, does that influence the information in terms of the location in which you're playing?
Does that influence the information in which? Let me see. I am not quite. I don't really think so. Like, I think people consume my stuff for a reason, and especially like my primetime podcast would be like the main podcast that I do, and for me, primetime was created to showcase the future hits that will be playing in the prime times of parties, like in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of the primetime mixes that I do are way ahead of their time. So I think a lot of people understand that, and they're like, yo, like, we like Puffy because he always plays the newest stuff, or he always educates us, or, I share like a lot of songs that I will be exposed to on tour in those mixes, so like these will be like, this is myself, my interests, my experiences, and just genuinely things that I will be listening to at the time in our long podcast every time. And I think people know that, and I think that's why people like it, Typically, it's not like radio. Like, if you want to hear your favorite song, you go to the radio, you know what I mean? Like, but primetime is different. It's always has a different flavor. There's always a couple songs that you need to Shazam, because it's like, yo, what is this song? I don't know it. Let me pull up my Shazam. So it's definitely an educational journey each and every time. And I think that's why people like it.
So you're a man of the people is what you're telling me.
That, yeah, for sure. I love people. You don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. And I mean, I have a personal opinion on DJs, and the importance that they play in the role of just society, because media is very, very important in how people view themselves and how they view certain things and the popularity. So, for instance, for Carnival in Trinidad, you hear the song the first time,
yes,
like the beginning of the year, and 6 weeks later, because you hear the song like, this song is so much crap. Who the hell created this song?
and then after a couple times, it's about you're nodding your head, you're bumping.
Wait, let me finish. Hold on.
On Twitter.
Because there's a pet peeve, because y'all just shove it down in people's throat. I shouldn't say y'all, my bad. The folks that I've listened to in Trinidad.
Do you really think so?
So, okay, so as a marketer, I think it's important to hear things, more than once, actually appreciate it.
Right.
On the flip side, though, there's a bit of a mafia. We call it the soca mafia in Trinidad, where because there's certain set relationships, there's a level of nepotism involved. You wouldn't hear certain music. And I mean, when you look back at a lot of these, there's a Chance the Rapper just basically on YouTube, like Justin Bieber was discovered on YouTube, like, because there's this mafia involved, and there's only so many people in terms of human connections that we can actually, engage with and be close with. And I understand that. But the system doesn't necessarily allow for somebody to come up to really get their song out there. And that's why social media is so important to democratize that process. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's still something that I find, it's just like, it's very limiting. And that's why you have to, like, you're on iTunes, you're listening to Apple Music and these Spotify options, because if you don't, you're not going to hear or be exposed to things outside of what the DJ may like.
Ah, boy. This thing is always a touchy topic, you know what I mean? And obviously I can only speak for myself. Being on radio, or putting 6 years into radio and then returning to radio now that I'm back home, I try to really sit down and do my research in terms of what's coming up or who's coming up, and see, how I could contribute positively to everybody's, ear and music taste. However, is really difficult. I will say it's really difficult as a DJ to know everything. You can't know everything, so there are certain movements. I'll give you an example. Barbados now has a really amazing emerging dancehall movement along with Trinidad, and a lot of the records initially weren't being played on radio. However, when you go to a party and you see the response, it's kind of hard not to be like, yo, well, I need to be up on this, I think everything definitely has its place. Obviously, due to certain types of content and stuff, everything don't belong on radio. Everything don't everything isn't supposed to be shoved down somebody's throat, as you said. But you can't know everything. But it's important to kind of use different methods to kind of be able to be up on your stuff. So listen to other people's podcasts. Go to different parties. Don't just get your music from one place. Subscribe to the artists. Look at what the other artists, look at who they're associated with. Talk to your friends. Talk to your little siblings. My little brother put me onto the baby. My little brother, and he's 16 now. And at the time he was like 14 or something like that. And that's when the baby's first record came out. And it was called Suge. And I was like, yo, what's that? He was like, yo, pass the aux, Andre. And I was like, yo, why you gotta give you the aux? He was like, nah, this song hard. And when he played it, I was like, yo, this song's actually pretty cool. And then it ended up being one of the biggest records in the next couple months. So, you kind of got to keep your ear to the ground and try to contribute fairly. But I do get how one-dimensional it can be. The potential of it being one-dimensional is definitely understood.
I guess for me, I understand where you at because it's only so much that you can do, but it would be nice if the radio stations would, opt in to give like a period, maybe an hour on a particular weekday of the week to say, these are emerging artists in the Caribbean, because we give that to foreign artists. We don't give that to local artists. So it's just something that I would hope to see eventually. Maybe it might be included in your workshops. I don't know. Just putting that out there.
I mean, I always include new stuff in all of my, in all of my methods or mediums or whatever. There are records that I do take to the station. I throw them in my mixes. Yeah, so I try to do my part as well, in terms of dedicating a show to that would be a really interesting thing, maybe it can be done. Let's see.
Okay, well, I'll leave that snippet with you. That was
No
free
problem.
consultation. Take that.
Thanks.
And on that same note, actually, what advice would you give to upcoming artists who have a dream, who, wants to present their self in this music industry, may it be a songwriter, a DJ, someone who produces music? What advice would you give to them?
And I guess this could overlap over like when it comes to what we were talking about just now as well. My main thing, or the main problem that a lot of artists have, especially new artists, is distribution. How do you get your song out there? How do people have access to your song? There's certain people that would get mad and say, yo, this person don't play my song, or this station don't play my song. We've never heard your song. So it's very important to try your best to distribute the song correctly. Use your streaming platforms, touch people on social media, reach out to people on social media, say, hi, yo, my name is so-and-so, this is my record. It's not all the time that we're going to be able to see your message, because it gets crazy in the DMs, but there are times where I had issues where, not issues, but I had experiences where I reached out to people and they didn't see my message, but it's something as easy as a follow-up. Now on Instagram, if you go on my page, there's an email button that you press and the email comes straight to my management, and my management will tell me, oh, yo, you got this email, or yo, there are X amount of songs that you need to go through. So try to go the extra mile when it comes to your distribution. Try to make sure that when you say, or if you're going to say, yo, my song is not being played here, that you've done everything that you possibly could, because there is an ongoing feud between artists and DJs when it comes to this type of stuff. So that's the reality of it. Never stop learning, yo. There are always different ways to do the same thing. So always keep your ears open. Be able or be coachable, yo. Take people's advice, take people's opinions into consideration. Be able to sieve it out and kind of filter it and you could always learn something from everybody. But that's a long convo too.
I think it's applicable across quite a number of industries.
Yeah,
So I could agree with that. I could see that because, I mean, it's fair to say that you're an entrepreneur, right?
100%.
And entrepreneurs have to keep knocking on doors.
For sure.
So it's just, to me, now is the best time than ever because literally you're knocking on doors, pressing an email and typing. It
Yep.
can't get any better than that.
Yep. And everybody's plugged into their phone, so they will see it. You know, they will see it.
Okay, awesome.
Pauline here, under the advice of my accountant, I have to do this ad because this is a marketing expense. So if you care, go to acmarketingcraven.com. If you don't, just keep listening to the podcast. I appreciate you.
So let's talk about DJ Puffy outside of DJ Puffy. Like, this is like a Dr. Phil moment.
Word.
What do you do outside of being a DJ?
Outside of DJing, well, do we include music in this at all, or
Gosh,
do we
boy,
just not?
it's just in your blood. You just can't help it.
Yeah, like I've been on the production heavy now. Like I've been producing a lot of records. I put out an EP like a month or two ago. And I got another album coming out later this year. I've just been doing this thing, man. Like music is in my DNA, you know. So
Okay.
I can't step away from it.
Okay.
Outside of that,
So, yeah, like, I don't know, like,
I play
sports.
PlayStation. I love video games. I'm really into that. I'm an avid retired tennis player. So I do watch tennis highlights in my free time a lot. I'm into video editing and videography as well, like a little bit. So I do watch like tutorials on cameras and people doing different edits and just behind the scenes stuff. I'm into the YouTube culture as well. So these people doing their blogs and their vlogs and, you know, just showing breakdowns of certain things or a lot of behind the scenes work. I'm into YouTube. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I think that's pretty much it, yo. I like food. So I kind of dabble in sampling different, you know, restaurants and going around and tasting people's hand and thing every now and again. Like a good food hole. So that's my thing. But it's pretty simple, man. Just music, hobbies, YouTube, video games, tennis in a circle.
What games on PlayStation?
FIFA, Battlefield for sure, and Call of Duty is a given. You know, I'm not too good at the Warzone, but I play multiplayer, and I enjoy multiplayer a little more than Warzone. I don't know why.
I feel like all your hobbies are Instagrammable.
Really? I don't put much of my gaming on online at all. I kind of just leave that as leisure. I'm also really big on spending time with my friends, man. Like we dedicate time now that I am at home and I'm not traveling to just hanging out. And that's really important for me. Like that's one of my highlights every week. Every Saturday after my radio shift, we go to a little like a rum shop or a bar on the corner in Black Rock, and we hang out. The food there is good. We have a couple drinks, and we just sit down. We talk. We share our wins for the week. We share our pits for the week, our low points. We just have like really good conversation and catch up with each other, and you know, do friends things.
So with I mean, Barbados is officially COVID-19 free. How is this current situation? I mean, because your space is built on events, you know, and
Yeah.
I just RIP to Crapova. My heart is burning.
Oh God.
So what are you doing? What's the pivot for you as a DJ?
I will say at first, this whole thing was kind of depressing, man. Like just being at home all the time. it was like, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's addicted to progress, is like, you like, I felt like I wasn't moving, you know what I mean? But I didn't know how to embrace everything that was going on around me and everything that was going on inside of me, within, and be like, yo, maybe this is a time where I could really slow down and kind of recalibrate the compass a bit. And I think that's what I did. I slept for like the first 2 weeks, caught up on some rest, and then I looked at the whole industry, and I was like, okay, cool. How can I still touch the people that I normally touch? How can I communicate more? Know that everybody's in a time where, things are so sensitive and everybody's consuming content. You kind of just want to stay true to yourself and true to the people that have been writing with you for all this time. That was where my mind was at. So I kind of brought it back to the roots and just went back to stuff that I was doing initially, putting more effort into YouTube, being a little more personal, putting up more mixtapes, keeping the content coming a little bit more frequently, just allowing people to reach out a little more and be closer to me. Like on my website, there's now a chat feature. And if you go on the site, you could just type in whatever you want and press enter. It comes straight to me. And I would answer when I have the time and when I see it. So it was kind of a recalibration. It was a come to Jesus for me. And I'm enjoying it, man. Now, just moving into the more digital space, I was able to kind of come up with just ways in which I could give back, but still have a source of income in a sense, with the live sessions, with helping out DJs acquire certain small things that would make like their mixes and stuff better. We're actually about to implement a mentorship program from my website, which will be done online. So yeah, we've kind of navigated through this space slowly but surely, but those are some of the things that I was able to implement as a result of slowing down completely.
Okay, and I know you started your crop over events. You have an event that happens every year.
Yeah.
What do you predict, if you were a futurist, your event would look like next year?
Next year, what would my event look like? Well, hopefully people could travel to the country and come in again. I know for sure it's gonna be Ram. This year, without giving away too much, we had a really fun theme, and I want to be able to bring that theme back. And now that I have more time to kind of plan everything, because I have a whole year to plan now, and I'm not touring, so I think it's definitely gonna be bigger. I think it's gonna be more interactive. We're definitely, as a result of what we've all learned through this pandemic, there will definitely be an online experience. So we're definitely going to add that to the Hyped brand and allow people to experience the party and the event online. But yeah, I don't really want to give away too much because, if I say one thing, it's kind of going to go down the rabbit hole. So I know it's going to be lit for sure. So everybody come.
And for those in the diaspora who may not know, Ram means to be full. Like,
Yeah.
event is like packed, just
Packed.
for those who may not know.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. No, that's fine. I mean, cultural sharing, we have to share each other's culture where that's concerned.
For sure.
And for me, I just came back from Tobago. I spent the weekend there, and it really
nice.
is it was needed. As much as it's hard to complain being in your house for 4 months, because some people are like, well, at least you have a house. I'm like,
At least I have a correct.
yeah, and I know that, but I needed space because I'm in a digital space and I literally was working every single day.
Yeah.
So but I found that we in the Caribbean have a very short-sighted approach to selling ourselves.
100%.
And I'd like to hear your take, because you talk about interactive online. on not artificial, yeah, like just a virtual reality. So that VR kind of environment. Do you see that coming into play at any point?
Yes, that would be great. But we also have to like be aware of the costs. Like how expensive are these things to put on? How expensive are these things to experience? In terms of VR, like what do these things that go on your eyes cost? Like I don't know. But there are really cool things that you could do that will be less costly. But I think that's definitely something that we're gonna jump on eventually. There are a lot of concerts and festivals that we're able to still, execute virtually. Yeah, I think that's a situation or a space that we're definitely going to get into eventually. Just give us some time, and maybe we might have some red tape in terms of having access to the equipment, or like I know internet speeds sometimes could be a challenge. So I'm also learning, so I would also love to be a part of that shift. So however I can. We're all in a time now where we're all figuring this whole new world out. There's no set way to do things, so we're all learning. So I'm looking forward to seeing or to having an answer or a better answer to that for sure later on.
Awesome.
Pauline here to let you know about Microsoft 365. As a small business owner, rent expense could be ridiculous for your bottom line. You need to understand what a cloud solution can do for your business. Not only does it reduce your cost, but it actually allows you to track the productivity levels of your team members. So go Microsoft 365. Trust me.
So we're gonna get a little conversation at CARICOM front here. This is a question that everybody gets, and I'm intrigued to hear your response.
Oh dear, should I be scared? Should I get some water? Should I turn my fan on?
Because of your initial response to something earlier, as my roommate calls her Auntie Mia, he always calls her his president, and his prime minister, and I wanted to find out if you were assigned the head of CARICOM tomorrow, you were in charge of all things CARICOM, Caribbean community, what would be the first thing on your to-do list?
If I was in charge of everything CARICOM, what would be the first thing on my to-do list?
Yes.
Lower the prices into Caribbean travel.
Okay.
100%. Like, it was way too expensive to travel to certain islands beforehand. There's no way that, a ticket to St. Lucia or Trinidad should cost like, 3/4 of what it costs to fly to New York, So I would do that for sure. That's my answer. Full stop.
That's not too bad. I mean, I was going to go and delve into it more, but I don't want to get too controversial,
Yeah, we don't want to step on any toes.
But yeah, I'm in complete agreement. My flight from New York to China last year cost the same amount on my flight from Trinidad to Grenada.
That's crazy, bro. Ho. The mass not massing. Like
Yeah. I'm with you.
Not massing.
I have so many questions, but that we don't have enough time on this podcast for this.
Yeah. But that's my answer. I'm sticking to that, man.
Yeah.
I feel like if more people were able to experience more cultures, especially in the Caribbean, we will have a bigger understanding of ourselves as a people too. So
yeah, agreed.
I think we need that.
Agreed. Okay, so I have one last question for you. How impactful do you think your upbringing in Barbados has been to your success today?
how impactful do I think my upbringing in Barbados has been to my success today? First of all, I will say that my upbringing has a lot to do with my identity, and my identity is 100% authentic in everything that I do. My expression and how I play music, how I talk, how I say things, how I party, how I post, what I say. So I would say it's extremely influential, you know, being here, being respectful as a youth, being forced to say good morning, good evening, good night, coming from a small society, and kind of knowing that your reputation is one of the most valuable things that you can hold on to. And if you keep that clean, then that will definitely help you when it comes to achieving success in an industry like this. That was definitely shaped by my upbringing. So shout out to my parents and my environment, everybody that was in my environment. Yeah, I think 100% of my upbringing is a true reflection of how successful I am, or why I was able to be successful in this industry.
I find it so funny, and the irony of you mentioning the good morning and good evening. So my Trini friends always up to this weekend, because it was a group of us in Tobago, and we were discussing because I train in the mornings and I run, and and my friend was like, this is ridiculous, everybody has to say good morning all the time. If I going up a hill and see 10 people, I have to say good morning, 10 times. I said, I'm sorry, but as a Bajan upbringing, that's all I know. Once I see a human, once I see a human, it's just automatic. Like, I don't even think twice. Like, I just have to say good morning.
And that could be the difference between, if I have to relate it to business now, like that could be the difference between you staying in somebody's mind, or that could be an opportunity, that could create an opportunity for you. If you're in the office, or you do something in particular, you have a service or something, and you're something as simple as being polite. You walk past this guy and you keep saying, hey, good morning. Yeah, you acknowledge that he's there, whatever. You never know. He might be in a conversation and say, yo, you know what? I think Pauline, she always says good morning, but I think she does something in this area. And then that one suggestion, that mention, that name drop could be an opportunity that you were always waiting on in terms of, your career. So these are small things that, that society has instilled in us from a very young age, that we should not take for granted, because in the bigger world, it definitely plays a part. It definitely has its influence,
It's also quite interesting how that, as close as we are in Trinidad and Barbados, the drastic difference, because I mean, I can't imagine walking into 𝐷𝐷𝐷 and not telling everybody good morning. It's just,
come on, man.
What? What do you mean?
Come on. What? Like I will say, and like this is the simplest thing to speak about, but it is very true. Like, I've met so many people just randomly on elevators, or like waiting in lines, or at coffee shops, but it was just like a quiet coffee shop. Like, you just go into an elevator, when you step in the elevator, you say good morning, you acknowledge somebody. That might open or break the ice for somebody to comment on something that they might have been admiring about you, or they see a shirt that you have on, like that might make some, or like that's an inviting thing. Like, that greeting is inviting, you know what I mean? So like, I've been able to cultivate relationships just on good mornings alone. And some of these people are some of my really good friends now. So don't sell yourself short by being unmannerly, people.
Oh, good. That's a whole other conversation that could be dissected, because
for sure. Sometimes it just takes a good morning, and that's the ball rolling.
So this will be a little extra. This will be the bloopers to this. But you went to school at 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷, correct?
Best school on earth.
And I want you to share with me, because I had a conversation with a fellow 𝐶𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷. Actually, he's based in New York. He has a site called blacktax.com and he wrote actually an article about the importance of 𝐶𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷. That's how I found him, and how it's literally the best school because of the Black excellence that he was able to see growing up. And I want to hear what you have to say on your upbringing in 𝐶𝐵 and why it was important for you.
I have there's one word that comes to mind when people think 𝐶𝐵, whether they love it or they hate it. And that is camaraderie. The camaraderie at our school is unmatched. And just like it's something that only if you experience that, you'll be able to understand it. It is so strong that people who know nothing about it dislike it. Where have you heard, like, how often do you hear something like that? People that don't know nothing about this thing, they just see all the positivity that come, and I know 𝐶𝐵 is oozing through my veins and my words right now, and people who went to other schools, they're mad right now, but I want you to be vexed. It's unmatched, yo.
I am dying here.
I know you must be laughing. You must be laughing, but it's just you. These people, they don't know anything about it. They haven't gone to school there a day in their life, but you want to be vexed when we talk about how great our experiences are. Come on, man. Come on.
I love it.
If Drake says that he's great, you're gonna believe it, right? You don't know Drake. You haven't hung out with him, but you're gonna believe it. So if we say 𝐶𝐵 is great, just love us, man. Stop being a hater.
I love it. So I'm gonna share this quick story with you.
Go.
I when I came back from school at 𝐶𝐵, I came to Trinidad and I was working, and my friends got scholarships to very Hofstra, which on hockey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they knew nothing about my 𝐶𝐵 or anything. So I just said to one of them, because she was about to leave a couple months, and I said, I know a few folks in Barbados who are on scholarships.
Yeah.
And I said, just tell them that you have a friend who went to school at 𝐶𝐵.
Oh, wow.
And I told her, I said, guaranteed the initial response will be a stoops or something of a negative response.
Yeah.
Literally, 3-4 months later, she come back for summer. She's like, oh my gosh, Pauline, you were right.
Yep. Like, what is this, yo? Come on.
So polarizing. It's so polarizing.
I
don't understand it.
People just like they hate what they don't understand. They if they don't have a lot of information about it, they kind of start to spread propaganda and a whole bunch of bacchanal. So it is what it is. It's just unfortunate that everybody can't be fortunate enough to experience that. All right, I'm done now.
You just that meme where the man just throw the table and it just kind of flips over. That's just like whoops.
I done.
I love it. All right. So on that very controversial note, where can people find DJ Puffy?
Just type it in Google, I guess. I think that works. DJ Puffy. Let me do it right now since I'm in front of my computer. Yes, it definitely works. So djpuffy.com. Everything is on there. I'm on my website all the time. I'm always in the back end checking stuff. All the emails that I send from my website, if you subscribe, come directly from me. I type them all. I come up with them all, with all of them. I design them. So yeah, everything is 100% real, and we're with you on the journey as well. And I thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for enjoying this podcast and listening all the way through. And thank you, Pauline, for having me and always keeping me in the loop. You know what I mean? I appreciate you and everything that you've done. And you've always kept me in the circle, whatever it is that you've been doing in life. So I appreciate you as well. And thanks.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So just to confirm, though, it's D as in DJ or it's DEEJAY?
If you type in the letters DJ space PUFFY, that everything just works. Everything just pops up. So
okay.
Thanks for joining us this week. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen for your podcasts. Don't forget to join the community at our website, LinkedInLocalCaribbean.com. If you liked this show, you might want to check out our next LinkedIn local event by following the hashtags on LinkedIn. Search for hashtag LinkedIn Local Caribbean.